Welcome to the Regular People Podcast. Today I'm joined by Aaron.
Hi.
What are we going to talk about today?
We're going to talk about kind of my changing lifestyle this year.
Yeah. How about you maybe describe the difference in your lifestyle? Just the rough change, and then maybe go into why a little bit?
Well, okay, wait.
Or do you want to say something before that?
Yeah, let's rewind.
Sure.
You're skipping the question that you normally do, which makes sense because I was on the show already before, so...
That's true, you were.
There's an episode...
It is episode 11.
Okay, so
Good
yeah,
and Evil.
if you want to know my 5-year background or whatever I gave to Wade's...
Yeah, I did skip that question.
Yeah, no, but yeah. So go back to episode 11 and just listen to that, and then...
Right. Yeah, the first probably 10 minutes of that should cover it. But, I mean, you could give a very brief...
No.
Okay.
I mean, when did we do that podcast? I could do
That
an
was
update.
that episode 11 was the first episode of this year, 2021. We recorded that on like the 3rd of January or something like that.
Okay. So it's been like 6 months.
10.
Oh my God.
But yeah, nearly a year.
Okay, so it was 6 months after that I quit my job. I had been doing union carpentry at a company that I won't name because it's not important.
Yeah.
I was working 40-hour weeks, pretty normal, union job. But then I got transferred to a job site in January of this year. I got transferred to a job site in Sheboygan where we're building 3 apartment buildings. So it's like an hour drive from East Side Milwaukee to Sheboygan.
Oh, yeah.
And we're doing 8-hour days.
So
and
it's really a 10-hour day?
Well, you've got a 15-minute lunch break that doesn't count.
That's pretty short, though.
And you're expected to show up like 15 minutes early and leave 15 minutes late. So they add on at this particular company.
Yeah.
But the pay is really good in the union. So, but yeah, so you've got like a 8-hour, 45-minute day, and then you tack on an hour drive to each end.
Basically half of your day.
Yeah, it was...
More than half when you account for the fact that you have to sleep.
Well, yeah, when you have to sleep. So then between... You wake up, go to work at like... You're leaving at like 5:30 in the morning, you know?
Yeah.
Then you're getting home at almost 5 p.m. So you're going to bed at 8 so that you can get up at 5. Or you're going to bed at like 9 so you can get up at 5. So you've got from like 5 to 9. And you've got to like grocery shop and clean your house and cook something, do the dishes, like do your laundry. Like
Try to have fun.
And try to have fun. But what ended up happening was I got a minor injury. Not in June, but I think a little bit earlier than that.
In your back?
Yeah, my lower back, yeah. It was shortly after I got the COVID vaccine, actually. I could tell the whole story because I think it's important. Like,
yeah, might as well.
Yeah. I got my COVID shot. My boss knew I was getting my COVID shot. The foreman on the job site, this guy, great guy, like him a lot. He's like a tough old school mentality. He's just like, so I was like, okay, I'm going to get my shot tonight. Tomorrow, if I'm feeling sore, I might not come in. If I'm not feeling good, I have a reaction, I might not come in.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, he knows. I call him in the morning. I'm like, or I text him and I'm like, the whole side of my body ached from COVID. Like my joints in my elbows, which I remember when I had COVID, it was like body aches like crazy. So I had...
Oh, you had COVID before?
I think in February of last year.
Oh.
I had really bad flu symptoms. The worst flu I've ever had in my life.
February of 2020?
Of 2020.
Oh.
Yeah.
It'd be pretty early to have it.
Yeah, well, I was at the airport twice that month.
Okay. So it was feeling like that again when you got the...
Well, anyways, it was body aches.
Yeah.
It reminded me of the actual... and it was like my neck, my shoulder, my elbow, my wrist, like all down that one side of my body, which happened to be the right side of my body. I don't know why I got the shot in the right side of my body, but I did.
Are you right side dominant?
Yeah, I am. And I have a physical job as a carpenter, or at the time I did, so it's like, so dumb. But, so I text my boss in the morning, my foreman, and I'm like, not feeling too good, got my shot last night, like, I'd rather stay home unless you need me to come in. He's like, yeah, we need you. So I go in, and I remember, like most days, I had to lift a lot of stuff and move it around the job site and lift heavy tools in my right arm and use them. And by the end of the day, my neck and shoulder, I mean, that whole side of my like back, neck, shoulder area was all stiff.
Yeah.
And then combination of effects. Like I think a week after that, I got a really bad crick in my neck. I think from sleeping wrong. But I know that fatigue was playing a part because it's like you got to drive. Like I was saying, I was doing almost 11-hour days, right? Where you're just like awake, alert, driving. You have to be really alert. And then I'm trying to have fun. So I like sports and stuff. So I'm like pushing myself outside of work too. Because I'm like, forget this. Why am I?
Yeah.
I got to enjoy my freaking life. At some point during the day or the week, like I got to enjoy my life and do the things I want to do. So I got the bad crick in my neck. And then it was like a week after that, I was working with one of the senior guys on the crew. We had a crew of 4 guys, and we were lifting this really big wall. But two of the guys got called out to the side to do something different for a little bit. And me and this other senior guy in the company, you know, he's like in good with the bosses and stuff. He's a sub foreman. And we lift, he's like, oh, just, you know, fuck it. We'll just lift it because we just got to get out of the way so we can get to the ones under it.
Yeah.
Which were smaller, so me and him could have like kept going. And literally as soon as I picked up that wall and started moving it, and we moved it off to the side, but I felt something in my back from all the way up by my shoulder blade all the way down to my butt. I just felt something like not right. It was just like pulled, like I don't know if a muscle just like gave out for a second or something. And it was crazy because the 2 guys came back like less than 5 minutes later.
So you could have just waited.
We could have just waited 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Anyways. From that point on, I started noticing that I would just get a little pain right there at the lower part of my back.
Yeah.
On that right side of my body, and it didn't go away. I had it at the end of the day on a Friday, and I had it Saturday, and I had it Sunday, and it was like pretty much hurting all day, which was different than I would just momentarily feel it here and there.
Yeah.
And then I woke up on Monday morning 3 days in a row in pain, and I just was like, you know, I'm looking at the clock, it's 5 a.m. and I'm just like, I'm going to lift something today and break my back.
Yeah.
So I texted the foreman and I was like, hey, I'm not coming in today. I'm thinking about quitting. I'm going to go back to sleep and I'm going to call the owner. And I called the owner. I told him like my concerns and yeah, and I quit.
What did the owner say? Were they sympathetic or were they?
They were sympathetic, yeah. But I was a really, really good worker for them. I made them a lot of money, you know, because as an apprentice, you're pretty cheap, and I bust my ass. I'm really smart, and I learned stuff really quick. He was really sad to see me go. You know, he mentioned there's this, like, old guy on the crew who was kind of hard to impress, and he's like, yeah, you even impress so-and-so, you know. But he was also like, you know, some guys can do it, some guys can't. And I told him all the story that I just told all of you, right? Listeners, you, Wade, like, I've told the story to other friends. Lots of people know it now. But yeah, basically his response to that story was kind of like, oh, you should have just stuck up for yourself. Like some guys can do it. They don't understand who can't do what. You got to know what you can and can't do.
Oh, like before lifting that heavy wall?
Yeah. Yeah. Before lifting the heavy wall. Because he's like, yeah, some guys, you know, they work for 30 years, you know, 60-year-old carpenters, you know, lifting walls, maybe not that big, but, you know. Yeah. And they do fine. And other guys, you know, they get back injuries and they just keep going. They wear a back brace or whatever, or they get surgery and they just keep going. Other guys, you know, like me, I guess, I was like not going to do that. I was like, oh, I'm just going to wear a back brace and keep doing this shit, you know? So he said he'd take me back if I wanted to ever come back and work.
And that's nice at least.
And I didn't put in a 2 weeks, but he didn't.
He didn't mind?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of hard to put in 2 weeks if it's because of an injury. Like, you're just supposed to keep injuring yourself for the next 2 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, I guess they're lucky I didn't put in a workers' comp claim.
Yeah.
Because I could have just go to the doctor. Because I'm the type of person to go to the doctor and tell him, lie and tell him I'm in more pain than...
Oh, so you don't think the amount of pain you're in is worthy of workman's comp or workers' comp?
I don't know. What it seems like to me is a minor injury that probably no surgery can fix, but I can probably fix with yoga. Yeah. And maybe like PT, you know?
Yeah.
So.
And not straining it.
Yeah, and not straining it. Yeah. Like, I really don't think I would have been injured if I would have been well rested.
Yeah.
You know? So, because it's like once your muscles are fatigued, they can't support, or just like maybe I probably could have lifted that better. Or, I don't know.
So was quitting your job just like informed only by that circumstance, or was it something you were thinking about previously?
I guess I had thought about it since 2020, but I didn't. The money in the carpenters union is really good.
Yeah.
It's like you start out at like $19 an hour, and you get like $1 or $2 raises every 5 months until you hit $37 an hour.
$1, $2 every 5 months. Wow. Yeah, that is good.
It's really good money. In the carpenters union, the other trades are similar: plumber, electrician, floor coverers, masons. Steel workers make even more.
Yeah.
My dream was to impress the company so much that I would go to the boss and I'd say, you know what, I love working at this company. The pay is really good, the work's really great, but I really need to. My work-life balance is all messed up, and I'm having a hard time motivating myself to work the way that I like to, because I don't really need this much money.
Yeah.
I would really like to work 4 days a week. That was my dream.
Yeah.
But it's slowly kind of in my head. Well, the weird thing is I never actually ended up asking for that before the injury happened.
Yeah.
And weird thing, the boss of the company was on the phone with him quitting. He even said like, oh yeah, we'll take you back or whatever if you want to come back. But this isn't the kind of company where, you could work 4 days a week or something.
Oh, okay. So you just wouldn't have allowed it if you would have asked.
I don't know. Yeah. Even so it's kind of like weird that like it's kind of weird that he like specifically said the thing.
You like read it out of your mind.
Kind of.
Yeah. That kind of seems weird to me. Not as much the mind reading, but just the fact that the company doesn't allow that.
Yeah, that's what's weird to me. Yeah.
It's like, what are you losing by allowing your employees to work less?
I don't know.
Like either, in your case at least, they don't have a worker, or they have a worker but just not as much as they might ideally want.
Yeah, just hire two guys. Hire for every five guys, hire one more.
Yeah.
And everybody could be working 32 hours a week.
And I don't know, maybe it's so much of a hassle to hire a guy that they don't want to have to do that, but that seems unlikely.
At this company, they'd have to hire like 10 guys because if everybody wanted to do it.
Right. And not everybody's going to want to, too.
Well, it's even stranger because like there's guys that'll come into work late, like 3 days a week because they're watching their kids or something during coronavirus. And it's
like substantially late? Or like hours?
It's weird. Like if I said like I had to like do, if I had the proper excuse as to why I needed it.
A child.
If I had like a child that I was taking care
sick
of
mom.
Or a sick mom. Yeah, like totally,
yeah.
But I want to work less because I want to enjoy my life.
Not acceptable.
No, because these guys are conservative. They're very conservative in the way that they think.
Yeah.
Like most trade, I can't really speak to, but just generally in my experience,
right.
Milwaukee, Wisconsin, the tradespeople I work with are pretty conservative. Even if they're socially liberal in some ways.
Right.
There's still like
the work ethic.
Yeah, the work ethic, and there's some other like they're still like men are men.
Right.
Even if they're like,
the urinals or
go
like
be gay over there or whatever. Like,
yeah.
I'm gonna be over here being a man.
Those outhouses at the construction sites are filled with obscenities written on the walls.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I told you about that, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, all types of racist, sexist, gross stuff.
Yeah.
Gross. Construction workers live up to their name.
Yeah, there's a certain kind of reputation that you have in mind when you imagine construction workers. It's accurate. Yeah.
Yeah, mostly.
Yeah. I don't understand the whole idea of like you got to work like 40 hours a week or else you're not doing it right. Especially in the case of that, we're making $37 an hour potentially.
Yeah,
it's like if you don't need that money, why is it like the socially like maximally acceptable thing to do to work full time? Like it seems like wasteful almost if you're just accruing money that you don't actually want to be accruing.
Yeah, I think most of my coworkers and the other trades guys working around me on these job sites, I think they kind of have gotten themselves into situations where they need that much money.
Yeah. So then maybe from their perspective, they don't understand
overextend by borrowing, and they've got a pretty good paying job. So then like the banks will lend them more.
Right.
So they kind of like get in this situation where it's like, you know, they've got like 2 cars plus their kid's car maybe, plus they've got like an ATV for like each kid, and they've got like maybe a motorbike, and then you got a boat, you know, and you got to get a lot of guns because you like hunting. The kids need guns.
Yeah.
Like the house has got to be really big, you know, you got to have a big yard, you got to have like all the toys when the kids are growing up.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
That makes
Keeping up with the Joneses is a never-ending game, you know.
Yeah, I guess there's that keeping up with other people in your community to like,
you know, it's
match
like, well,
them.
Jimmy's dad got him a motorbike,
So,
you know, and then
yeah.
it's like parents are just I don't know.
You don't want to seem like worse than Jimmy's dad, so you gotta cave in, get it for your kid too. But then also on top of that, what you were just saying was making me think of something I really hate is lifestyle creep.
I don't know this term.
Okay, it's basically the concept of like generally most people, as you make more money, you spend more money because you can now. So it's like I used to only be able to afford a 1-bedroom apartment, but now that I can afford more, I'm gonna get a house. And it's like, aside from the fact that maybe a house is a good investment in your future, it's like, why do you need to do this? You don't need a better car just because now you can. You don't need to buy the new television just because now you make more money. It's like you could just keep spending the same amount you always were and make more money.
But were you happy spending less?
I mean, you're saying like if it increases your happiness, then it's because it can.
Then there could be.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna ask you. Like you weighed that question. Have you experienced lifestyle creep at any point in your life?
I've tried to avoid it when I can, but I mean, sure, like it's kind of unavoidable in circumstances, which is one of the reasons I hate it. Is because it's just like a thing that affects humans. Yeah, I've definitely like bought things that I didn't need, but I don't think I typically like upgrade the things that I already own to a higher. Like I didn't buy a new car. My car sucks. And my car's, and everybody would describe my car as a piece of shit. I can afford a better car.
Yes,
I don't.
But you don't.
Yes,
because it'll be more strategic for you in the long run.
Yeah.
But you're somebody who can be happy. Like Wade, you are somebody who can be happy with a shitty car because like
yeah.
But and I don't know why other people can't like access that mental space where it's like, yeah, I drive a piece of shit car and I really don't care.
Yeah.
What I guess it comes down to you have to not care what mainstream media is trying to tell you is cool.
Yeah, or what social pressure wants you to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely a hard thing to overcome, and I don't know what it takes to do that. But it's still just like the whole aspect of the higher salary you have, the amount of savings you have is constant somehow. You just always spend more when it should be the reverse.
Yeah,
so.
but I guess like once you get access to capital from the bank, like once the bank decides, oh, this is, you know, somebody who we're going to start giving loans to because they make a good enough salary where they can pay interest, like then you're in a whole new ballpark where you're kind of like overreaching or expanding like your wealth and your flashiness because it's like, oh, well, now I can buy an even bigger house or I can buy an even flashier car because look, the bank is like, it's a dangerous road though.
It is. That's another aspect that I try to avoid completely. Debt. Like people are not even expanding how much you spend because you can, but expanding like your debt constantly because you can afford to pay it off each month. I mean, not fully, but pay it off for the credit card companies to be satisfied.
Yeah.
Like
scary road.
Yeah. I don't understand. I mean, this is just me. I guess people do it, but I don't understand why people feel the need to get loans unless, of course, it's for something they literally can't afford. Like maybe you're trying to start a business and you need extra money that you don't have to start it. Then like, sure, get a loan, I guess. I hate loans still, but if you're trying to buy your son a car so that, you know, you're cool in the community, don't do it.
The big difference between the two scenarios that you just outlined is one is a situation where you're investing in a tool with which to do some type of work to add to the marketplace.
Yeah.
Whereas your son has no real need for a car.
Right.
And if it was just a tool to get them to work, you would buy them the most cost-effective car.
Right.
You know, you wouldn't buy them a luxury car. So any amount that you spend above that it's just like shallow spending.
Yeah, it's a luxury purchase.
It's a luxury purpose. It's not a tool for any purpose. It's just spending to show off how much you can spend.
Yeah.
which I suppose is supposed to attract women or something.
It probably does, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it is wasteful. Especially if you already have kids, which a lot of people do. Then like, evolutionarily speaking, you're
yeah, but the dad who buys his son a flashy car wants his son to.
Oh, that's right. His son will accumulate ladies.
He has to get the more beautiful women that he couldn't get when he was his
That's true.
age.
He's living vicariously through his son by watching his son date the hottest girl in school.
Yeah, or whatever imaginary scenario like path we're going down right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't know though, but if you're trying to provide for your children and give them a better future than you have, I still feel the better route is to just save that money and then give it to your kid.
That's because you're a practical person, unlike I think most people are more irrational and operate
Impulse
more on
purchase.
feeling than perhaps rationality.
That may be so. So you wanted to work less because you didn't need to work the full 40 hours, and you would have liked to work 4 days a week instead of 5.
Yeah. So yeah, the injury definitely. So I was already thinking about working less,
Yeah.
But then like I quit my job and I had some savings, and luckily I had, after working 2 years in teaching and 2 years in construction, over that time I was able to save up, and I bought 2 duplexes. I do them as like affordable housing, and they kind of pay for themselves. I live in one of them and I pay myself rent. Both houses slowly save money each month so that they can afford repairs. So it's kind of like because I had already bought real estate, because there's 3 things you need to buy real estate. You need a good credit score, 2 years of a good paying job in the same industry, and a down payment, right? And buying into real estate early is super important for your family's financial health. If you're trying to stay in the middle class or get into the middle class, like buying a residential property that you can pay off and live in, and your family can live in and not have to pay the bank to, live on earth, like that's so important. So I got that out of the way, and it's like now it's like, well, shoot, I don't really have any real reason like to keep making so much money and striving so hard to like have this career, because it's like when I was 18, I think I lived on $10,000 a year. Now most of the years that I've been making more money, I spent more like 20,000. Like I had that creep happen through my 20s, and then it crept up. But still, I was making twice that when I was a carpenter and a teacher, or at least after taxes, I guess I was making like 30. Plenty more. Yeah. But it's like, so then I was like, well, I'll just like quit the job and see what else life has to offer instead of a career. And it's been cool. I think I'm happier. I think I smile way more. Like there's days. So, okay. Yeah. So I haven't had a real job in like 4 months.
Yeah. So what have you been doing?
I started with a 2-week staycation. I did a lot of yard work. I did some work on my house.
There's a car alarm going off right now. I'm sorry.
Also just like going to the beach and playing tennis and going on bike rides every day that I wanted to, and playing the piano as much as I possibly like wanted to, or writing poetry, working on my book. Like
you got a taste of the aristocrat's lifestyle, basically. Just the leisure living.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm trying to say is you don't need to be an aristocrat to live that lifestyle.
Right. Yeah.
Because like most of the best things in life are cheap or free. I say that over and over, and I mean it.
Yeah, like going outside, social interaction.
Especially materially cheap or free. Like sometimes like to pay for yoga classes, okay. But once you learn, and you can learn online for practically free. I mean, what, internet, $50 a month gets you access to a lot of free classes, a lot of free media. Books are very cheap. Oftentimes friends can lend books because once you're done, you just can lend it, and it can...
Well, books can be completely free with libraries.
Libraries, little free libraries. I mean, I buy used books online when I can't get good ones, and I'll spend, $15 on a book, but you can sell it back for half that. Yeah. And I mean, you get so many, or you could just give it to somebody, you know, and have it keep on giving. Reading a lot is another thing that I did during my staycation. You know, I think I'm on my 6th book this year, so, which is great, because I think the last couple years, you know, going hard in college, all through my 20s, I think I really have only read like 1 or 2 books a year.
Yeah.
For fun, because I'd be either studying in college and then teaching, I'd be grading papers, and
yeah, you're already reading so much you don't want to read more later in your free time.
Yeah. So, reading a lot, sporting a lot, relaxing on the beach a lot, biking, hanging out, doing art, making music.
It's a lot of things.
It's a lot of things to do.
Amount of things.
So that was my staycation.
You have to admit, though, that you are in a position where it's much easier for you to experience that. As what I call the aristocrat's lifestyle, because you don't have any kids. I
mean, yeah.
You had a good paying job for 4 years, I guess. Yeah. If teaching was good paying, which it might not have been.
40,000.
Oh, so yeah, better paying
by my standards is good.
Yeah, by my standards that's good too.
Yeah. Before I was a teacher, I never made more than like, I think, $10,000 or $15,000 a year.
Yeah, and so,
yeah, that was a lot. Like 40,000. I was like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of money.
Are you facing a lot of college debt?
I am. I have $29,500.
Okay, well, you have that against you, I guess,
but I'm not gonna pay it down because I mean, it's so low interest rate. Yeah, not pay it.
Yeah, I mean, why pay it really? Just die before you pay it.
I mean, Biden's gonna cancel it, right?
One would hope.
That was a joke. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm not putting my money on it, but
we'd have to force him.
It'd be nice.
We'd have to get out in the streets and cause a ruckus. You know, we'd have to organize the students and the families of the students and get out in the streets and go on strike and be like, give me my debt free.
Although whether Biden does it in his 4 to 8 years, whether or not that happens, I think it's more likely, or at least semi-likely, that it'll happen sometime within your life.
Yeah, fingers crossed, man.
You know, future progressive presidents, more progressive than Biden, whatnot.
Yeah. There's some one of the pathways in the future contains that. Yeah, student debt cancellation.
Yeah. So I mean, how sad for all the people who paid it off or have spent lots of money on it, and then it gets.
Well, I paid mine down like $8,000 before I decided
and then it gets forgiven, but it's not like you're getting that money back. You don't have to pay the rest.
Oh, after 25 years? Or how many years of forgiven thing?
Well, I'm just saying, like, if somewhere in your lifetime student debt is forgiven and you've already paid a certain amount of it.
I lost that money.
Yeah, you'd be better off not having paid any of it. Or paying as little as you can get away with.
Yeah, that's my strategy now. Pay as little as I can get away with.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're all doing, right?
Well, yeah.
Come on, team, let's go.
This is actually, well, it doesn't really relate. It only relates in that sentence to something I was going to talk about. So I'll just write it down and we come back to it later.
Listen, audience, listen. We're going to listen to Wade scribble.
So, with not working, have you not been working at all, or have you been doing anything to generate income?
Eventually. I mean, I had money saved. Right. So I lived on that for a little bit. After my staycation, I went to Maine for 2.5 weeks. Shout out to my friends Montana Morris and Ian Kleptar, who now live and run this, like, I don't know if it's like a vacation destination or what, but they bought this water tower and they call it the People's Perch. You can follow them on Instagram. They're kind of crazy. They cut a whole door in the side of the water tower so that they're gonna make some kind of hangout space inside of this like 75-year-old water tower.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, it's cool. They've got a welder living there with them. That's a friend, and there's a spring-fed pond on the property. And so I went out there for 2.5 weeks, but I did some hanging out and I did some biking and I did some adventure stuff, but mostly I just wrote on my book, and I wrote like 67 pages on a novel that I'm working on in 2.5 weeks, which was great.
Yeah, that's good progress.
That was in June. I have not touched it since. So,
well, you got something done.
Yeah.
I used to write short stories, and it would take me like 3 months to write 60 pages.
Basically. I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it had taken me like a year to write the previous 100 pages. So yeah, I mean, 67 pages in I'm looking forward to taking another writing vacation where like I
dedicated to that.
Yeah, because I think that could be like a good strategy.
That is a good strategy. Not so much from experience, but from observation. It seems to be a very good strategy. Dedicate your time to a specific activity, and you're more likely to actually achieve it.
Yeah, definitely. Like I would like wake up and I'd be like, I need to write. I'm gonna go, you know.
And a place for it too.
Yeah, so I found a coffee shop and I went there every day and I'd go for 4 to 6 to 7 hours and just if I stopped writing, I would just go and I'd take a walk around the little town. There's a little town called I think Cornish in like the middle of Maine, south middle of Maine. Yeah, Cornish. It's like established in like 1790 something.
It's a pretty old town.
Yeah, so there's like antique shops everywhere, obviously, but it's like 1792 or whatever it is. This is an old town, right?
Yeah. Maine's got some cool stuff. I've been there before. My cousins live in Maine. My aunt and uncle.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I was there a few years back in the fall. Very pretty.
Was it rainy when you were there?
Not excessively. A little bit.
I just feel like it's always rainy there. It was raining there when I went there as a kid. It was raining there when I went there this summer. Therefore, it's probably always raining.
All the time. Yeah, I don't know about that.
Okay.
Maybe. I can't confirm or deny that for you.
Okay, yeah.
So you were in Maine. What next?
Back home, and I did have to start like working a little bit, you know.
What'd you do?
Uber Eats. I did a good amount of like Uber Eats, which is just delivery driving food.
Yeah.
Super easy. You can make like $20 an hour. Not all the time, but sometimes.
Yeah.
Other like gig work that I've been doing has been like working in gardens, doing like repairs, modifications, and building of like plastic covered hoop houses. So I've been getting work doing that, and some moving, random like people like moving their house and just like on Facebook being like, hey, I need somebody to help me move this stuff, and you just go move stuff.
So like all these job opportunities, you've just been like finding them directly, like yourself? Hasn't been like through just like through my social network, you know. And then once you do a good job at something, you know, get recommended,
then then they will have more work for you, or they know somebody who has work for you.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna go forward on like faith in myself and my skills, and if I do good work, then I'll just keep getting hired, you know.
So how much do you think you've been working in a week doing that?
You know, some weeks like 5 or 10 hours. Some weeks maybe 30. I think I got close to 40 once.
So it's just trying to avoid consistently 40?
Well, no, I'm not trying to avoid work. Honestly, I said I'm very happy, and I am happier now.
Yeah.
But I do have some anxiety about money now that I didn't before. I've always had like a lot of savings and stuff, and I've just never been like this close with like bills and stuff. And I do have savings, but I just don't touch them. I don't pretend they're not there, because they are for serious events, like if a furnace went out in one of my houses, you know.
Oh yeah.
You know, I need that money, so I can't really touch it.
Okay.
Or like I'm saving for my next car, you know, I don't let myself touch that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not that I'm trying to avoid 40. It's just that like life is I go on like little trips, you know. I've been going out to farms in southeast Wisconsin to hang out with friends, and I went up to Escanaba in the UP to visit a friend. My friend's dad bought property there. It's nice. And going to Madison to visit a friend, and going up to Marinette County to visit my grandparents and my aunt and uncle and stuff. So a lot like that gets in the way of me working 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
But also it's like, it's fun.
Yeah. So your life is more about enjoying it than just working.
Yeah. One of the big expenses with all the running around and like visiting is like, I'm kind of just like depreciating my car to enjoy life right now. So eventually I'm going to have to deal with that. And I mentioned car savings, but they haven't been going up very much since I quit carpentry.
What do you think about the sustainability of this lifestyle that you've had for the past 4 months?
I think I'm eventually maybe going to have to get a job where I work like 20 or something hours a week, but I have like regular pay.
Yeah.
or maybe 30 hours a week, but then I request vacations every, few months. Something like that I think could be really sustainable. But for now, I'm just going to go forward on faith with the gig work and just see how low I can slide by and how little I can work. Yeah.
That's not that part. The earlier part. That's what I've been doing the past several years now.
Doing what? The earlier part?
Yeah. So I also kind of had a realization a while ago. I didn't quit my job completely and whatnot, but I was like, wait a minute, if I'm working to like save up for the future and enjoy my life then, that seems illogical to me when I could just try and enjoy my life more now and just work less. So I was like, rather than working 40 hours a week or whatever, rather than being beholden to whatever my boss wants to schedule me, I'll just say I can't work like 3 days a week, maybe 4 days a week. I've got like really long weekends, or like 2 weekends every week, and I just get to do more time either just enjoying life or working on projects that I actually care about, and it's been great. Although,
what are some of your projects that?
Well, there's this, for instance.
Yeah, for instance, yeah.
I also like to make videos, not very frequently, but like, I don't know, maybe once a month or once every 2 months or so.
Once a month is pretty frequent. A video is a big production.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely like to do a lot of reading, not so much a project, but that's something that I try to
Sure,
do.
it's a project.
And then the past several years, I've been on and off for like, maybe on for 6 months, off for 6 months, working on making a board game. The last 6 months have been an off.
This is cool. I've worked on board games, and I actually just met a guy who, well, actually, no, Quinn.
He's doing it?
Dude, he makes board games, and he writes code for video games.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. I got to talk to him about that.
Yeah. He's an interesting dude. You should talk. Yeah. Well,
that's pretty cool. Yeah. Stuff like that. I used to write a lot of short stories that kind of transitioned. I feel like I only have so much creative energy to be working on like one project at a time. So if I'm dedicating my time to videos, I can't really dedicate any of my energy to working on a board game or whatever. Podcasting has been taking time out of my video production as well. And then the past 2 years I've also been going back to school, so really my free time is less.
Gobbled up by school now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's just one big project, basically. Yeah.
So I guess if you count school as work, I'd probably do work a full-time job.
Yeah.
But it's nice to not have to clock in and go into the job most days of the week.
But you go to school part-time?
Well, I've been doing like full semesters.
How many credits?
This semester is less because it's the final one in my associate degree.
Oh, okay.
So like any extra credits that I take, which I am taking an extra class, any of those aren't covered by FAFSA, by government grants. So I have to just pay for it out of pocket. And I wanted to try and get ahead at least a little bit in my 4-year thing. So I took an extra class this semester. So this semester I'm only taking 3 because I only needed 2 more to graduate. 3. But the past several semesters
9 credits or?
It's well, I got a 5 credit, a 4 credit, and a 3 credit.
Oh, science classes.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been taking calculus.
Calculus is 4 or 3?
5.
Because it's Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then there's a 4 credit science class and a 3 credit psychology class.
Wait, I can't remember if I took I think I took the dumb people calculus in college. It was only 3 credits.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and I also took a calculus over the summer too, which didn't help my whole this semester paying for stuff, but I wanted to squeeze in a lot of calculus.
Wait, I didn't catch the 3 classes. Calculus?
I got a child psychology, calculus, and a class called Concepts of Science and Health. So it's like a science health.
Wait, are you going for medicine now?
No. I'm going for see that one, it was like I had to take a science class, and the classes that I wanted to take the one I wanted to take isn't in the spring or the fall. So I just took that one because it sounded kind of cool.
Yeah, you'll learn stuff.
But no, the idea is physics and psychology. And the physics class that I wanted is only fall. Or I keep saying it backwards. It's only spring. Only second semester of the year, not this one. Because I started in the wrong time, kind of. I started going to college in the spring.
Yeah.
So everything kind of got fucked up for me a little bit because there are certain semester or classes that are like, this is a first semester class, and I took it in the second semester. So now I can't take the second semester class when I want to.
Where are you trying to transfer to?
I was just thinking UWM.
Yeah.
Next semester. But yeah.
Well, good luck, man. Schools. You don't even need the luck because like you're just like a really studious person and you're very serious about like your intellectual endeavors. I feel like you're not gonna like blow them off at all.
Yeah, that's true now. Yeah. If you look at my high school transcript, it definitely wasn't true. But yeah. Which is one of the reasons I think it's often beneficial for people to not go to college right away, because a lot of people don't really take it seriously, and if you're just gonna fail out of your college classes and waste money, like why even go?
Definitely smart choice.
Which I probably would have done.
Yeah,
I would have just not cared. And now it's like, this is my own money. I'm not living with my parents, so like they're not gonna help me pay for it or anything. So I don't want to fuck it up.
Yeah, don't fuck it up. Get good grades. Learn as much as you can. If you can make connections with professors, do it.
Yeah.
Like outside of the lecture hall, like office hours, all that. Do that. Research. Do it if you can. Coolest thing I did in university is research, for sure.
What'd you research?
Alzheimer's. But I think we talked about that in the last podcast.
Okay. I'll have to listen back to it.
Maybe not. I'll skip that.
Yeah, so
college is lame. Got me a lot of debt, and that's about it. So good luck making it work, Wade.
So far, I haven't gotten into debt yet in my life, and hopefully I can keep up that streak. But I also don't spend very much on things.
Yeah.
But yeah. So one of the subjects you wanted to talk about, you called lean economics.
Oh yeah.
Do you want to maybe give a quick explanation of what that is or how you imagine it to be?
So I read a book recently called Surviving the Future, and I recommend it, although I'm not 100% on board with the main premise of the book. The premise of the book is basically that ecosystem collapse is imminent and something needs to be done about it, right?
Like global ecosystem collapse?
Yeah, global ecosystem collapse. You know, it's a book written by a radical environmentalist, and I don't necessarily think that we're headed for global ecosystem collapse or that we can't engineer our way out of it.
Yeah, that it's irreversible.
That's the second premise of the radical environmentalist author who wrote this book, is that one, ecosystem collapse is imminent, and two, engineering our way out of it is not possible because it will only destroy the ecosystem more.
Oh, it'll only accelerate the destruction.
So that's the part that I don't agree with, because I'm a little bit more like agnostic about, you know, whether each of those are true. Yeah.
Okay.
But I read it anyways because I think there's still a probability that both of those are true.
Right.
So
non-zero chance
and
we'll all die. And
that position being, I think, in the minority among, I think it's an underrepresented position proportional to its probability of, because I'd give like both of those a close to 50%.
Wait, which one do you think is underrepresented?
I think both.
Oh.
I think most people...
I feel like I see a lot of doomsayers.
You hear a lot of doomsayers because they're loud.
Okay, so the vocal minority is...
I think maybe. It seems like... because you got to... First of all, most of the conservatives and Republican voters...
Are not that.
Do not even
Deniers
think that the ecosystem is on the verge of collapse.
Right.
And even if they were, I don't know, they might be split on whether or not they think we can engineer our way out of it. Because some of them might say, oh yeah, humans trying to play God will probably screw it up worse. Or others might say, you know, go technology, like, let's do it. So you got to discount most of those people. They don't think the environment's collapsing. And then even on the left, I think like half of the people on the left would probably say that technology can save us. I mean, solar panels and wind turbines or whatever they think is going to save us.
Right.
Yeah.
So you aren't sure where you land on that?
I'm not sure where I land on that, but with a 50% chance of the global ecosystem collapse and the possibility of like Earth becoming uninhabitable to humans, I think it's worth exploring. Like, this. I've read it. At least this is my third book that I've read with those premises.
Oh, okay. I mean, definitely interesting topic for a book. I haven't actually read a book about that.
Yeah, well, so another good one along the same lines as Surviving the Future is The Long Descent by John Michael Greer, which I read like 2 years ago last year maybe, and then this book Surviving the Future by David Fleming. And I've heard that David Fleming wrote a much larger, like, it was called a tome, the person who was telling me about it, a much larger tome in which all of his philosophy is completely outlined. Okay. And that book is called Lean Logic.
Lean Logic.
Lean Logic. Okay. Yes. What he goes into in Surviving the Future is like basically what I think people might think of as a low energy economy. Okay. Like an economy where we go away from technology, and they divide it kind of into like high tech and low tech.
Sure.
And the environmentalists will split hairs about where that line is drawn, but the idea is to kind of downscale, especially energy consumption, not necessarily population. Although a lot of environmentalists will talk about population, David Fleming does not really address it in the book too much.
He doesn't address the fact that, well, it seems to me it would be likely that if you downscale technology, you would have to downscale population.
Likely.
I feel like a lot of the reason we can feed this many people and keep them alive and comfortable is
with the healthcare industry,
energy consumption,
and the agricultural food production.
Right. And like global shipping and stuff.
But the interesting thing that I found about, I've been an environmentalist my whole life. My older brother is an even more radical environmentalist than me. I'm an environmentalist, but I'm also like, maybe we can save it with technology, or maybe we can have this planet and go to Mars, later. Right. Like maybe we can turn ourselves into robots, and maybe we can like CRISPR our genome. I'm like, whereas a lot of environmentalists are conservative about technology, like to the max. But despite being intrigued by technology, and despite having my doubts about doomsaying about the environment, my efforts to become more environmentally friendly have led me to lifestyle changes that I think have made me like really happy, because I'm like happy most of the time these days, and that's been going on for a few years for me now. It's like been a weird change.
Keep it going.
Because I was like a mad, angry young dude for a long time, and I'm just like happier now. It's kind of weird. But I think when you stop spending so much time like chasing money and things, and you're not like spending a lot of time inside stores with fluorescent lights, or like scrolling like media or watching media, when you get away from the screens, you get away from the fluorescent lights, and you do like more natural things that just so happen to be environmentally friendly and low energy, like being outside and playing sports, or like doing yoga, or going for a run or a bike ride, or making music, as opposed to watching MTV, or your phone is constantly sucking electricity and like playing music on your phone. Like you could just like buy a guitar, and like from then on you can make music yourself. It doesn't have to be good. That's the thing. You gotta like give up on that thing where it's like this whole like celebrity, like you're gonna turn off the screens, and you're gonna like stop watching the celebrities, and you're gonna stop caring about the celebrities a little bit. Like you're gonna stop caring about daily news cycle.
Yeah.
Because like, I could pay attention every second, or I could like stop paying attention for a little bit and like guess what's happening to the world, and then like tune back in and find out, oh yeah, the same shit's happening that was happening last week.
Yeah.
And it's just more fun. It's just more fun. I'm like, and okay, that's what I found. It's more fun to unplug from the TV and play outside and like make my own art and music, and like be friends with people who do the same thing. And maybe like a listener to this might try it and not agree. They might be like, oh, this sucks. But I really encourage like people to give it a try, because everybody's doing the screen, like looking at the screens and playing the video games, and like bigger TV, like bigger house, more lights, more, more airplane tickets, and more like just more of everything. And it's like, I don't know. I don't think everybody's happy doing that. We're certainly not evolved to be happy doing that. We are evolved to be happy playing outside under trees, and like spending time in the garden, and like, raising our own animals to like harvest from and maybe sometimes eat, like that, we've been doing those things for a long time. And when we do those things, my belief is that I'm getting all types of evolutionary feedback when I'm playing outside in trees and in parks, and I'm dancing, I'm creating my own music, creating my own art, making my own board games, whatever it happens to be. Like when I engage that way, without the screens, without the technology, without all the electricity and all the frills and the motors and things, like it just feels so good. It feels so good. So maybe it's not for you, but I think you should, like, I'm talking to the audience or whoever, Wade, like, I know, just like try it.
Yeah.
You might like it.
You were saying stuff about the news that intrigued me, because my feeling about the news that I've had for several years now is basically that it's almost worthless. Maybe in some very large events you should probably know what's going on, but I think direct consumption of the news on any given individual's part is unnecessary, because if something is important enough, somebody else will tell me about it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to be looking for it myself.
Yeah, we don't need 100% of the people paying attention to global politics.
Yeah, maybe somebody should.
Yeah,
but it doesn't need to be your average daily person. It could be, the journalists, and then that's gonna seep into your daily life.
So on my like Instagram, I like unfollowed all of like the groups and like politicians and political active groups that I used to follow, and now I just like follow my friends.
Yeah.
And I have one friend who was actually on your podcast recently, I think, Leslie Jones.
Yeah.
She's very passionate about politics. And I kind of like used to be, but I'm kind of not anymore. Another like weird change in my life. But yeah, so she like keeps me abreast of the things that I need to know, which is good.
Right. Yeah, you can, like, as long as you have anybody in your life who cares about it, you don't have to do it yourself.
Mm-hmm. They'll bring the stuff that's pertinent to you and your community to you.
Yeah. And also there's plenty of studies on this, especially some recent ones as of like a week ago. And it seems like obvious to say, but people who look at news less are happier.
Oh yeah,
because most of what the news is depressing information.
Yeah,
like
it's an inaccurate representation most of the time, correct?
That's true. Yeah, because you're only going to report on what is notable, and it's not like everything that happens is notable.
Yeah,
so it's not actually.
Yet weirdly, they won't pay attention to the real problems that are big. They'll blow things like local crime out of proportion, or like I'm not sure what else they're blowing out of proportion, but like somehow in the mix of all of it, like they never seem to address like poverty or low wages, or the fact that like capital gains aren't taxed, or like real estate, like big real estate people aren't like taxed. Like none of the things, like if people actually knew about and paid attention to, they'd be like, maybe we should, that's unfair, maybe we should change that. Like never pay attention to that. But they have a whole bunch of other really depressing stuff to tell you about that is, I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of like the whole system that social media itself kind of relies upon, and like the outrage machine is how much this can make you afraid or make you angry is how much it'll spread. So,
is there just like a human nature where we get like more excited or like more into life when we're scared and angry and stressed out?
Probably part of human nature, because it seems like it just generates more of a reaction from people when you tell them something upsetting than something comforting.
Yeah. Definitely. It's more of a reaction.
Yeah. I mean, some aspect of just your psychology, I guess, but
it doesn't matter if 99 days of your life were happy and one of them you got killed by the other animal. Like, it's like, it's the one scary day that really fucking matters. It's not all the moments of like, oh, you're relaxing, being happy.
That's a good way to explain it.
Yeah.
But you have to really look out for the bad things, because those are the ones that are likely to kill you.
I've made a hobby out of explaining everything through evolutionary biology.
I like it a lot. Evolutionary psychology, everything's like, it's like, I don't know. To me, it's the most informative angle that you can interpret things from, because like obviously that's why we think these things, because it's been structured that way in our brains for millions of years.
Right, from before we were human, like going back to whatever lizard or amoeba, even even the amoeba is probably the same. Like the moment of danger is more engaging than all the moments of relaxation and eating or whatever. Yeah, so screw the big news companies for tapping into our evolutionary biology to get us to keep consuming their TV.
Yeah, that's one aspect of the modern society that's very bad or maybe it's an issue with capitalism, but maybe not. It's probably just how human, incentives work. The more you learn about these types of things, the more people are going to exploit them. Mm-hmm. So it's like you realize that you can, get people hooked up with an addiction on these like mobile games, so that a bunch of companies are going to jump on it and design them that way to addict people or to get people addicted. And if we didn't know it, you couldn't design it that way. So there's that downside of progress.
And not to say, but yeah, progress is still progress. I believe progress is possible. I do believe that we can make things better. I'm careful to say that, like, if I'm making recommendations or things, that it's not a prescription for everyone. It's just for whoever likes it or it works for. So, yeah, to get back to, like, the low energy lifestyle and the whole idea about, like, working less and living more. It's interesting because it's not, like, less. I do a lot of things that, like, are work. I work in the garden. I work on a song that I'm learning on piano. I work on a painting. I work on my book, I work on my relationships. I work on myself. I work out. It's a lot of work, but it's not work for money. It's the work that I choose because these are the ways that I want to grow in, and it's automatically, and I volunteer, So I'm not by any means lazy or just like, not engaging. Like, I'm working, but it's just different.
Yeah. There's this difference that I see in, I guess, two types of people, or maybe the dividing line is like conservative or liberal or not, but probably not as simple as that. But when I talk to people about things like universal basic income, there's a certain group of people who get worried, like, oh, everyone's just going to be doing nothing all the time, mooching off the system. And I am not of that opinion at all. I think, like, the reason I want to work at a job less is so that I can spend energy and, like, passion on things that I want to do that still take a lot of mental and, like, physical effort. But that are, like, things that I actually desire to be doing rather than that I feel I have to do in order to maintain my living. So I think if more people did have the opportunity or decided to work less, they probably would still be, quote unquote, like, working the same.
Yeah, but just not for money.
Yeah, it'd just be doing a different activity.
And it's a more self-realized or like the problem is, like, some people, and again, I think I generalized earlier about conservatives and liberals, but it is just a generalization. But I think maybe that group kind of, I've met certain types of people that, like, don't appreciate, like, art and music. Or at least maybe they've been brainwashed into the whole thing of, like, oh, if it's not the best, if it's not celebrity art and music, then it's like, why are you doing it?
Yeah.
Which kind of goes back to, well, those people make money doing it, so it's valuable. So they're just, like, defaulting to things are valuable if they're paid for, but if they're not paid for, they're not valuable. And it's like, wait a minute, but what if they're valuable to me?
Yeah.
What if they're valuable to my friends? Or, like, just because whoever's got the money and owns the shit isn't, like, paying you. Like, just because they don't think it's valuable that I'm doing my yoga every week, doesn't mean that it's not valuable.
Right.
Like, I get to determine what's valuable too,
Yeah.
Like, you do too, Wade. Like, and everybody listening, like, we have that power. And weirdly enough, at the end of the day, we're working so hard to pay rent and taxes, and that shit. I have resisted this train of thought for so long.
Let's hear it.
But it's something you hear. Money at the end of the day is fake.
Oh yeah.
So, like, at the point at which you realize, like, if enough people, this is when the system will break, is if the people in charge of the system are not savvy enough, and enough people, like, their understanding of what's valuable becomes out of sync with what the system thinks is valuable, then it's gonna break.
Yeah, and, like, money isn't the only, like, decider of value. It's not even the most important one. Or thing of value, I should say. Although I do have the opinion that at least in a society where large amounts of different people are living together, money or at least a currency of some sort is necessary, like some sort of basis for trade between people, because it's not like every single person has an object or a skill that every other person values.
Yeah, no.
So you need some sort of intermediary to.
I'm just saying that you could, at any time, the American people could decide to like sever their bond to the American dollar.
Right. It'd be a difficult task, but it would
be a revolution, of course.
Yeah.
But that's what the lean economy is all about. Is about being able to be resilient in situations of disaster or revolution, crises, because you get really afraid to do things like stand up for what you actually believe in. But, you know, when you have a community around you and you realize all of the people around you still have all of the skills that they were doing before. And in fact, all of the capital is still in place too. So even if we completely buck the entire economic system, stop paying taxes, stop paying rent, and stop collecting money, if we're organized together in a way, we trade amongst ourselves and we have everything that we need. So,
I mean, that's like the dream of a commune, really.
Yeah, it's
self-sustaining ecosystem that,
or a libertarian socialist or an anarchist. You know, it's all the same. That's the weird thing. You got like all of these different angles on life, but like honestly, like the dream is kind of the same.
Yeah.
Among different types. It's just I think conservatives are more defeatist about it. You know, like, oh, the dream can't be real, and liberals are like, the dream can be real.
Yeah, I definitely think that dream can be real, but I think the thing is, like, if it was like a commune like that where people kind of operate through their community with the skills and keeping each other happy and surviving, without needing like outside like money or outside goods or whatnot to sustain themselves, and then like actually having a community that's big enough to pull that off, but small enough to have it like still like be cohesive and have the same ideals and actually like each other and know each other. I feel like you couldn't do that on nation levels. You'd have to have like thousands and thousands of smaller like neighborhoods of like city states or something like that.
City states or provinces or something.
Yeah. I don't think it could. I think the more people you get, the less they agree.
I don't think you'd really have cities too much. I think it would be more like town centers surrounded by like rural land. And I think it would be interesting too to still have things manufactured. Yeah. Like each one might manufacture something different and be able to trade with. I mean, why wouldn't you trade? And I think you'd still use currency. It's more local. And the more local you get, the more resilient it is to crises. That's the hypothesis anyways. The more local you get with your activities and your economics, like for instance, like I grow food in my backyard to eat. And I've known people raise chickens in Milwaukee. I would really like to raise chickens. It's a dream of mine. But yeah, I mean, because then if there is a crisis or a war, it's like, well, I know I have food.
Yeah.
And if all of us were doing that, if we all had food, then like, and shelters, right? So you just need like people to maintain the houses and people to maintain the gardens and look after the livestock. And like, you know, you make all your own music and you make all your own art and you have, I mean, you can even still do like plug into the grid with electricity and get the internet. You might not have it in every house in the community, or you might form little libraries where people get together to do internet research and things. There's like lots of ways that you can cut down and be thrifty and be more frugal and at the same time be happier. Yeah. I don't think when you give up a lot of this stuff, I think you're not giving up. You're actually gaining. You're gaining a different experience. I don't know how much time people spend watching TV or listening to the radio or scrolling Twitter or Facebook or whatever they do. But like, I do know that I catch a lot of people saying a lot of this shit and clearly they haven't thought about stuff for themselves and they're just like spitting back stuff they've seen on media.
Yeah.
And it's like really obvious when people start doing it because like, and I do it too, of course, because I also consume media. Something that somebody said recently that bugged me, and has been said in different ways by different people in my life. It's like this, well, that wouldn't work because everybody's stupid, you know? And I think we've kind of like, I really resist that because I think human beings are like genius by nature. Like intelligence is the human quality. Like we fuck with shit and we see what happens and we learn every time. Our brains are incredible, you know? So like, I don't think people are stupid, but like, I think people have kind of like made themselves stupid.
Right. Yeah. I think the civilization that we've built allows for people to be stupid.
Yeah. Or just like not think about a lot of stuff and not create a lot of stuff and not be creative.
Yeah. If you had smaller, more self-sufficient systems like that, there would be less room for people to be stupid. Like people would be almost forced into becoming better versions of themselves.
Yeah. Well, and I just think like when we stop working so much for other people and these big corporations or the government or whoever it is that we're working for, and we start to find ways to work less because we're going to spend less, and when we do that, what I lost my thought. I feel like I'm repeating myself over and over.
Perhaps it would, just about the dream of the liberal.
Oh yeah, you become you force yourself to become more creative.
Yeah,
because like how do you entertain yourself?
Yeah,
if you're not going to have a TV or something, you know.
There is one thing that I kind of worry about a little bit is because you're talking about you're kind of insulated from disasters and war and whatnot if you're self-sufficient.
Yeah.
But then there's this thing that I think about sometimes. It's self-sufficiency is inefficiency. Because if you maybe imagine thousands and thousands of province or neighborhood-sized communities that are self-sufficient, they're providing everything for themselves or most things for themselves. And like maybe one's got a small linen factory. Well, then every single one of them have small linen factories. If they all need linen or whatever it is that they need.
Yeah, that's why I'm suggesting maybe some kind
there
of
would still
middle
be
way.
Something in between.
Something in between.
Everybody grows their own food, but there's still like
other
more specialized industries that only exist in like a few places.
But also the argument that David Fleming would make against you would be, he would say like, yeah, but we have more labor than we need.
Yeah.
So you spending the time to make those linens is okay. Well, because we have more than we need.
I agree with that aspect, but then the thing I worry about is that if it's more inefficient to be self-sufficient, it's also more wasteful. Because like, if you can,
he goes into and I gotta look into the history of this, but he goes into all this history of like wasting things on purpose. Uh-oh. There's a whole history of it in pre-industrial civilization.
Oh, really?
Yeah, wasting things on purpose because you have surplus.
Oh, yeah.
So often.
Well, that still happens now too, a ton. But
have you heard of like the who are those people the Luddites that like destroyed the looms?
Yeah.
Because like the looms would put people out of work.
Right.
It's the thing is we've technologicalized ourselves out of purpose in life. There's nothing left for us to do.
Okay.
You know?
That's something I take issue with, I think, because I think the progress of technology that takes away the need for human activity is bad in the way that it can make people stupid. It can make people stupid because there's less that they need to do and there's less useful skills they need to have because you don't need to know how to do math yourself because now there are calculators that can do it for you and everything. There's millions of examples. But then at the same time, it also does free up more time for you to do the things that you actually want to do. Yeah,
like I don't have to be physically fit because they invented a car.
Right.
This is not so yeah, okay, it's more efficient, but is it like you got to ask yourself, we're so efficient with our machines, but are we even creating things that are valuable or are we creating things and experiences that actually harm us? And then your whole efficiency starts to get really weird when this whole like, oh, instead of 1,000 linen factories, we'll have one. But we need 1,000 roads that go out of the city.
Right.
And 1,000 cars to carry all of the things around. So all of a sudden your efficiencies of your system start breaking down. Because there's all these intermediary infrastructures that you need to put in place to maintain the efficiency. What it actually does is the technology allows the wealth to be centralized in places that make it easier to control the wealth for the few people that want to do that. That's what it does. And half of what they're building in the factories are not of value, they are of a negative value because they hurt us.
Yes, that is true. Those things are true. But then the other aspect of that
I'm getting excited now. I'm like, I'm in it. I'm like, no.
The other aspect that I want to mention of the increase of technology taking away activities that we need to do is that frees up time to do things that aren't really the type of things that you can take away or are hard to take away. For instance, like art, if you no longer have to work on the loom or do the manual labor with all these things you might have to do if we were living in 1790, now you have the time, ideally anyway, to work on music and literature,
book and all that,
and read.
The thing is, I think we can toil in the garden for half the day and make art the other half the day.
Yeah, that's usually how it goes. There's some sort of balance that you can strike rather than just going completely one-sided. Yeah. And like you said with the linen factories, it might be maximum inefficiency for every single province to have their own linen factory, but then the complete other end of it where there's one linen factory, that's also really bad because that's centralized wealth. It's really bad. And also,
it might become more inefficient at some point.
That's true. And yeah, monopolies are always super inefficient because they can be. Monopolies are horrible, and I hate them. And then they're also really disaster. If a disaster strikes, like your own linen factory is fucked. Yeah. So you would want to strike a balance of like, not every single place is making these things, but also there's more than a small amount, so that wealth isn't just owned by a small few people.
And going back to the resiliency thing too, like the technology, it's like, I mean, what makes people resilient is skills and knowledge. Yeah. But you get skills and knowledge through doing things. But like most people don't have a diversity of things that they do. They spend 40 hours a week doing one thing. You know? Yeah. And it's like, you could work at like McDonald's for 15 years. You're not a freaking cook. Right. You know? So, like if the power plants shut down, you know? If the water... it's like, and the air is so dirty and like we start having to spend electricity to do that or something. I don't know, man. It could get really ugly. And on the flip side of the whole thing is just like, I want me or my kids or my grandkids to be ready for that in case it does go that way.
Before you were talking about David Fleming and that whatever it was called book,
Surviving
the Future, about how ecosystem collapse is inevitable. And then he
doesn't talk about it much, but it's clearly a premise that he lays out like early on, and then kind of it's just an assumption throughout the rest of the book.
Well, you were talking about how there's the two broad sides of it, of people who completely don't acknowledge that and the people who are like environmental alarmists about it. Yeah. And I wanted to say, like I was saying before this podcast, before we started recording, like you, I'm not quite in the whole like camp of everything's gonna be fucked and it's gonna be horrible and we're all gonna die and there's gonna be an apocalypse in 2050. Yeah. But on the other side of it, I do kind of resent and dislike those the techno-optimists who are like, it'll be fine, somebody's gonna figure out some invention that solves all our issues for us. Just keep living your life and then it'll get fixed. I see that in particular along the lines of like lab-grown meat, where people are like, it'll 15 years we'll have lab-grown meat. We won't have to worry about our animal agriculture issues anymore because we'll have it solved. And like, you could also be doing something now about it. Or like with climate change or like the plastic in the ocean. Like you could also be doing something now about it.
Good luck getting people to eat lab-grown meat, Well, I guess they'll do it. They won't even, because they don't even know where their meat comes from now. So yeah, they'll do it.
I think as soon as it becomes as cheaper than regular meat, provided that actually happens, people will eat it. Because I think people are most incentivized by convenience, not by any ideas of gross factor. People eat Cheetos. People eat things that are completely manufactured. But yeah, one thing I want to say is that environmental alarmism, while it might not be actually true in the end, in the grand scheme of things, if you're, it's 1990 and your doomsaying about acid rain didn't end up being a problem, at least not yet. But the thing is, like, you need those people to make these like horrific predictions to actually get people to care and actually create action.
Yeah, they fixed acid rain really, or like the worst of it really quick. Yeah. Now there's just a small amount of it. It's not bad like it was.
So right now, with everybody saying like we won't have all this the CO2 dead oceans by 2050, whatever, you're going to have a whole generation of people who are super motivated to go into environmental science, and then maybe that will fix the problem. Hopefully.
Yeah, or just, more people going on strike maybe.
Or more people like changing their lifestyles. Yeah. Because they realize things are actually dire, or it could be.
And then demanding that we change our policies to fit our newfound lifestyles. Yeah. Yeah, I guess we had the podcast we wanted to have.
Yeah. Yeah, we were thinking of a shorter episode for this. Shorter than 2 hours, anyway. Shorter than whatever it was.
And I got to talk about, my new kind of motto, the work less, live more.
Yeah,
And
I like it.
Got to talk about this book. This book, Surviving the Future, changed my life. He made me see that, got past the whole, technology, efficiency, centralization, efficiency.
Yeah.
And then I was like, wait a minute, what are we making?
Right.
It's like, what kind of world do you want to live in, And you can find, there's so many experiences in life. It's so many choices. And it's up to like each person to choose what they want to live. And if you want to live in a big city and, be online all day, like, I don't hate you. I love you. All the listeners out here who are really into technology and spend lots of time on screens. Like, I don't think you're bad people. I think, love your life and do what you want to do. I'm over here doing something a little different, trying to anyways. I'm just letting you know that you could do it too, if you want.
I spend too much time on screens, but kind of have to at the moment for school.
And you're more creative if you're doing YouTube videos too. It's like a more creative pursuit than absorbing.
Right.
So next you'd probably ask me like what book I would recommend.
But we've been talking about a few books. But do you have a different one?
I wouldn't even actually recommend the book unless you're really into this topic. I really enjoyed it. I think a book that I would recommend that I think would be more widely appealing. Read The Shining. Did not love it.
I actually just read The Shining like 3 months ago.
I did not love it.
Yeah.
What about you?
It was like, honestly, the difference between the movie and the book, I was expecting things to be in the book that weren't there. And I thought there was too much foreshadowing in the books.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's, yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of a bad book.
Yeah, and spoilers for The Shining, I guess.
I haven't seen the movie, so don't spoil anything different.
Spoilers for The Shining book.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I was kind of upset that Jack was the only one who died.
Yeah,
I was expecting it to be more horrific.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess that was my not recommendation. Oh, dude, totally recommend Star Trek Next Generation if you've never watched it. I never watched it as a kid, but I just finished season 5. Dude, Star Trek is awesome. Recommend highly.
Star Trek, they went the complete opposite route of every lifestyle decision that you're describing.
I'm a complicated dude, Wade.
Yeah, it's okay to like things that go against how we actually live when it's fiction.
I'm still trying to thread the needle between all the worlds. So
yeah. Book I just finished was Why I'm Not a Christian by Bertrand Russell. It was a collection of essays, really, rather than a book. It was okay. I don't know if I'd recommend it. Yeah. I was actually at work and I had it on the countertop and this customer came up to me and he's like, "What you reading?" So I had to flip it over and show him. And I was like, "I hope this guy isn't like a super hard Christian." And then he turns out he is, and he argues with me about why God exists for 15 minutes while I'm at work. I was like, "Is this really the best time for this to happen? Best place?" It's an okay book. Bertrand Russell's a good thinker, but
wasn't particularly
a lot of things that I feel like if you're reading those types of books, you've already come across.
Yeah. So yeah. All right.
Yeah. Thanks for being on this episode.
Thanks for having me, Wade.
Yeah, it was a good time, and thank you for listening.